Georgia's passing game found its groove against Vanderbilt, and it did it early in the game against the Commodores and saw success all game long. Brent, overall, passing back for Georgia, maybe quieting some concerns from fans about where were these touchdown passes. Not super high volume necessarily against Vandy, but you saw efficiency.
Yeah, and what's amazing, the sort of yo-yo we've been on this season with, we're throwing the ball a lot. The running game's got to. Then Auburn comes around and you absolute dunk on them in the running game, and so passing game seemed a little off. So this was a good week to do it. Vanderbilt obviously helps. They're not very good, but the thing is you still have to throw and catch, and they did that to a great extent. And like you said, with massive efficiency, and the big key, early.
That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We're with UGAsports.com. We do this series called Film Don't Lie. We've done this for years, where we check out some of the action from Georgia's game. He's more of a data guy. That's his background. He also works for Pro Football Focus. I tell bad jokes on Twitter and have some video skills, and that is how we kind of got paired together. And now we both live in the North Oconee School District. So go Titans. Here we're good. They had a big win this week. Yeah,
they're rolling.
No one's touching them at this point. All right, let's start here. The first play that we're going to look at is not even a passing play, but I thought this was critical to show very first play of the game. What is Georgia showing Vanderbilt? Because I think this helps set up some of the passing that you see later on. And our plays of the game that we just finished wrapping up, we showed Darnell Washington. I want you to watch this guy on this play.
We talk about him every week, how phenomenal he is. We got to show just how awesome he is as a receiving threat. And this is there. By the way, he's now the second highest graded receiver and or tight end in the country in the FBS, not just Power 5, FBS. And there's a guy at Minnesota who's evidently a really good blocker as a tight end. That it's the only one who's ahead of him. But just phenomenal work from him. This is duo. Like a lot of times this is what you see. So you see the two double teams in the interior. And by the way, linebacker play from Vanderbilt on this struggle bus. But this is what you do. You push as the running back up to it. Let the linebackers tell you where to go. They stay back and outside, boom, or inside. You bounce. Good job of Kenny. But Bowers and Washington on the edge, like that's just domination.
When I was rewatching this, the only thing that I thought is, imagine that you are this edge guy here from Vandy. You're coming into Sanford Stadium. You are playing the number one team in the country. You know it's probably not going to go very well, but at the same time, you still get the butterflies of playing college football in such a cool environment. You're in this league, yada, yada, yada. And then Darnell Washington says, hello. We have this for the rest of the game.
Does he serve him up, by the way? Does he serve him up a little pancake action? I think you can't. Yeah, I think he finishes there. I think he.
I mean, if it's not a pancake, it's a new category of something.
Yeah, well, in PFF grading terms, it's called BTG, block to the ground, otherwise known as the serving them up the pancakes.
In Dayne Young terms, it's called OMG. Oof.
Baptize him.
I could watch this all day because like Darnell doesn't go to the ground with him because he doesn't.
No, he just. Yeah. The other thing is, I think you at least get movement here. From the offensive line, you're resetting a couple yards, at least a yard or two along the line of scrimmage. Warren McClendon, based on the rest of the stuff, we're not necessarily going to get to talk a lot about him, so I'm going to talk about him now. As of right now, through first run, like pre-sort of review type stuff, grading-wise, that was his highest single game grade of his career.
Wow.
Second highest run block grade of his career in terms of in a single game. Like, he's just helping with the double team here, but that's one where that's a next level for him. He's sort of been this guy who's just Mr. Consistent and stays in this range in terms of grades, rarely below 60, usually right in the 60s and the mid to upper 70s. But once you start getting into that, that's a next level of domination. And he's obviously, when you think about it, his time has been cut into a little bit. So he's taken that next step, and it was a great game for him.
So that's first play of the game. Georgia gets 8 yards pretty easily. So Vanderbilt's thinking, all right, do we have to deal with this on the ground? Here's a 2nd and 2. This is on that first drive still. not as successful of a play. But again, in terms of telling Vanderbilt, you're going to be dealing with this all day. This is one of those tone setters. I think that was crucial to say, we do this, and then it can kind of set up passing later.
Yeah, and they actually did some level of fake with this later, like got it to Bowers, but they were running some back away type stuff. But anytime you get Bowers touches, it's a positive thing for you as an offense. I do have one big nit to pick on this play. Just from
that's what we do. Someone said we should be the
nitpickers, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, nitpickers. Well, I'm going to pick one on this one because guess what? It's happened in 2 games in a row. But by the way, first off, if I told you that 8 receivers had more than 20 yards receiving in this game, I think we would all assume that Bowers was one of them, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't.
Nope.
Wow.
And he wasn't. So, just amazing how the depth and things like that. But anyway, right about now. All right. I would love to ask this question. And by the way, I'm only asking this question because it's happened 2 weeks in a row. On Ladd's, when they threw the pop pass to Ladd against Auburn, same exact thing. Kenny McIntosh as the back is going out and roll it back just a little bit to where he has to make that decision. Right. So right there, he's leading up in the hole. He's the lead guy right here on this play. And 2 weeks in a row now, he goes and finds the corner. Fine by me. But if you're asking me, who would I rather you block? I would rather you block the safety, i.e. the guy who makes the tackle here, because when it's more straight ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, the safety
he's off the screen, so you're saying go up here.
He's right about there. Because when in doubt, I would love to make corners tackle Bowers. I would love to make corners tackle anyone for that matter, as opposed to safeties. They're just for the most part, they're bigger, better tacklers. And look who comes up, boom, makes the play. Now that a lot of it is also Rosemary Jackson is trying to get outside leverage, and then the cut is inside of him. But like I said, this is one where 2 weeks in a row the same thing has happened, and it's been a good play, but I'd rather put my guy one-on-one with that corner, and I think Georgia's going to win that battle more often than not.
Would you like my nit to pick? Because I have one as well.
Yeah. Pick a nit.
So, Broderick, I've been saying this every week. Broderick Jones, you are going to get called on a holding penalty at a crucial time, and it's going to hurt Georgia. Because you're getting away with it a ton. Watch him here. Overshoots.
Yep.
If you are anywhere in the open field, not just surrounded in the trenches, and your arm is extended like that, I don't care if
outside edge
or
with
not,
jersey.
You're going to get called for holding eventually. He did not here, but if you get called holding on this play and you're completely on the other side of it, that's just bad football.
Well, and also it's from if you're talking about it from a coaching standpoint, what would you think that Stacey Searles is saying to him right there, for the most part? If he goes inside of you, we're out of the gate already.
Yeah.
If he goes inside, who cares? Don't touch him. If he wants to go up the field and take himself out of the play, fine. Go get the next guy.
But I've seen multiple of these each week, and you can probably call it a multiple offensive linemen. So maybe I'm being a little too bombastic in calling out Broderick Jones, but I'm saying when that happens with him at a crucial time for Georgia, you can say you saw it on film. Don't lie. Go to the next play here. Now we get into some of the passing stuff, and we actually do have an all-22 view of this one.
It's the first third down of the game. And, for those that want to sort of rip on Stetson and talk about the sort of inability to be an NFL quarterback, like the throws he's made down the field to the middle of the field this season have been money, and he's put sauce on it. He's like right here. Vanderbilt, by the way, drops 8. Like they show a cover 2 and or quarters look, one of the other, but a middle of the field open look. And then at the snap, the guy who's on the right side of the G sprints back to the middle of the field. All right. So it's a pre-snap versus post-snap. The safety comes up. Now you're in a cover 3. Like But he stayed the protection. He has nowhere near any sort of pressure. And they only rush 3, but they drop 8. You got 5 in the pattern. This is just it's great design because you're clearing out with the deep route and then hitting Rosemary Jackson on the sort of deep crosser. But it's not like there's a lot of room to make that throw. He's just throwing to the window that exists and letting his receiver go get it, which is just great. And he's waiting the time that he needs because he needed to wait that extra hitch to let the guy clear. Like hitch, another little extra hitch, and then lets it go into the window because that guy's technically like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And now the only lane is between him and the guy who's standing in the middle of the G. And he throws it high into that window, not too high, but there you go.
The other compliment I want to give here is to Marcus Rosemary-Jackson's improved route running, because we've seen this a couple of times this year where he does the kind of 12-yard hitch and does it in a way that kind of shakes the corner. Well, now 2 weeks in a row, we've seen this kind of deep crossing route, and watch him when he gets to the top of this, plants the foot, kind of does the little shimmy shuffle, and then turns to get upfield. It's just very smooth. Like you can tell he's worked really hard at this craft because he wasn't this smooth with his route running even a year ago.
Well, I think that's his role. I think he's a great middle of the field type receiver, big, physical, go up and get it. He's not a go quickly win on the outside and just beat guys instantly type receiver. And to me, he's actually a guy who I could see having a longer career in the league by being a great blocker, special teams dynamic player, and being able to play and be physical in the middle of the field.
I mean, if you're looking at people's roles, you're saying, all right, my burner is going to be Arian Smith when he's healthy, guy on the edge, and maybe do some jet stuff. McConkey can do some of that. Bowers can do everything. And then, so what can he do better than others? And I think it's routes like that, like do your edge blocking, but then do these kind of routes too.
Be Mohamed Sanu for the 2016 Falcons. That guy, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, all that sort of thing. But the other thing to point out, like what's amazing, how many people right now are hating the fact, or at least Denver Bronco fans. I don't know how many exist that are that watch film don't lie, but they're probably not liking the fact that Russell Wilson is their quarterback right now. Because as he's gotten older, his ability to attack the middle of the field has just shrunk. Stetson's the same size, and he's consistently attacking the middle of the field, and really always has.
Notice how this right here, and this is funny to me, where the sticks are, because you pointed this out. The line to gain here is the 49, and
the
little hitch here on the front end of the G is what opens up Marcus Rosemary-Jackson, because that's what gets this guy to step forward, and then I'll play it a little bit more. It's also what gets this guy to step forward because he's not paying attention to his, I need to help tackle here. Well, you don't have to, my guy. There's all of this here, but because of who this is, commands that attention. George is playing through the attention that's commanded from tight ends. And the other players 100%. Are benefiting from it.
Yep. But great opening 3rd down.
Go to another 3rd down, this time in the red zone.
Yep. Lot to like about this play.
It's space, right? I mean, pre-snap, I look at this and I say, Vandy, you sure you want to do this? You sure?
Well, it's a form of 2-man, because you look at the bottom of the screen, all those guys are in man, given the fact that you have and then he knows he's got 2 safeties over the top, man everywhere else, and almost probably likely knows based upon the look that if McIntosh stays, that guy's coming. If McIntosh gets in the route, the linebacker who's right over top of the center has to get one of the other, are getting Washington and McIntosh. And the best thing about this is that he gets it to him early. Like he doesn't wait and sort of survey the field. It's just go get it to him early since he has all that space and go use it.
All the space, which the screen doesn't allow me to actually draw circles, and now I'm doing bad artwork. Here we go. Yeah. Snap. step, throw, and then Kenny Mack in space.
I was saying, and that's the cutback we didn't see against Missouri.
Yeah.
So, you see it now and he gets into the end zone.
This is one of those plays. It's like, you know what? Football's not all that complicated. Get it to him over there with some space to work.
A couple of things. One, Stetson on third down in this game, 7 of 8 for 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 first downs. So this is one of them, obviously. But the one he's completely changed his game this year on third down. Massive improvement. And that's just him elevating, being better. The other thing, what's interesting, so look, you think about James Cook last year, how dynamic James Cook was as a receiver, right? All the bigger plays that we saw from him. James Cook last year as a receiver, 27 receptions for 30 yards, 274 yards, and he did have 4 touchdowns. Kenny McIntosh, thus far in this year, 28 receptions on 32 targets, 270 yards, and then this touchdown. So basically the production is equal other than the touchdowns and the bigger plays maybe that we saw from Cook.
He's Georgia's best 3 receivers. They're all not receivers, right?
Not receivers, not wide receivers, yes.
Yeah, it's 2 tight ends and Kenny Mack. That's Georgia's best receiver. And that's not a slight to the receivers. That's just
– No, they're just really good. And he's going to make a living in the league. He's like James White for Brady all those years. He's going to make a living in the league on third down.
Let's move ahead to later in the second quarter. Georgia has a 3-touchdown lead, but find itself in another third down situation. Not long to go here.
Three. There's a nice little theme with these next 3 plays. And this is just when they do this and they do it efficiently, defenses to me should have, they have no chance. And this is what you kind of wondered over the past few weeks, some of the sputtering within the passing game, because take these plays all day when they're given. This is an RPO, split zone action, and you see the cushion that Ladd is given. Ladd makes a guy miss.
So when you're reading pre-snap,
21 yards.
Are you just looking at this space in between?
Space.
And you're looking at that and saying, I can exploit that quickly here.
Yeah, when it has that option. He has that option, obviously. And the receivers are running that. This is one where sometimes it ends up to Bowers, but the defensive end actually plays it well and stays in the throwing lane because he sees Stetson keep the ball. But it's just, if you're going to give him that space, we saw it last year against Michigan in the playoff game with A.D. Mitchell early. If you're going to give him that space, just take it.
Main indicator for people that want to know. Main indicator for how you know this RPO. What's offensive line doing? Blocking forward.
Yes, they're blocking
back.
run.
Darnell coming across the formation. And you probably end up getting a first down off of this, or at least coming close on the run, but it's nowhere near as easy as what Ladd did here.
Exactly. The key word there, easy. Take the easy route. If they're going to give it to you, just take it all day. And the next few plays. Now, the next one's a little more unique, but the other one, the one after this, is even more. Just take it.
But we've seen this formation pretty often from Georgia now, where and you were telling me, I think it was a couple weeks ago, you really love seeing Bowers and Washington kind of line up here in this little split H-back situation.
Just from I would love it more if they get in the pistol some, but that's just not what they do.
Yeah.
But I will say this, from we talked about it in the Darnell video, the plays of the game, the trust that he's having with him and Bowers, that's what this play is. This is a trust play. I'm putting it to the spot and know you're going to, this is the back shoulder throw off the arc sort of run action. And there we go. Catch, first down on second and 9, which I think that may have been wrong actually, but 2nd and 5-ish. But the beautiful part about this play is when you think about if Georgia runs counter, because this is blocked as counter, Ratledge pulls, Darnell's coming around as a lead blocker. Where's the back? The back would be typically to Stetson's right? So he's giving it and following. So this is some same side counter action that is a good tendency breaker for them. And you need to start see these things and do these things sort of more so than what we've seen initially. But I love the action. trust Bowers, let him go make plays because he's going to.
Personnel note here, and I've been kind of discussing this for a few weeks. This is first quarter for Georgia. This is 2:16 left. Georgia has a 1-touchdown lead. So this is nowhere near like backup territory, but this is where Georgia is at this particular position. Left tackle here is Warren McClendon.
Yep.
Right tackle here is Amarius Mims, who is playing more and more and more. His snap count continues to increase. Roddy, in his 3-2-1 report this week, broke the news that Ernest Green, the true freshman that was originally going to be the backup left tackle, had a procedure and on his back, and he's likely, any kind of back procedure at this point, he's not going to play this year. And so you've seen Austin Blaske get in there and be the left tackle, at least the backup later in games. Georgia is making sure that this little rotation of McClendon, think the previous offensive linemen and their versatility at Georgia. So last year was Jamari Sawyer, right? That we can play him at tackle. We could probably play him at guard, and we've even seen him before beat the backup center. And you've seen this in previous years with a couple of different guys at Georgia. Well, McClendon's that guy this year. And when they're shuffling on the offensive line for whatever reason, it's going to be him to kind of go fill that spot because he's the most versatile of the ones out there. So situationally, having Warren McClendon play left tackle here, that tells me that Georgia says we want to be confident that if something happens to Broderick Jones, that Warren McClendon feels good over there. And or this is the perfect game to figure that out.
Or even if something happens to McClendon, Mims has played a lot.
Yeah.
Either way, like that's I loved from minute one the rotation that they've done with this. Especially when you have guys that are that talented. When you have guys that are that talented and sort of in a way that quote deserve to play them. And it seems like a set rotation too.
What that tells me is that if McClendon's grade is highest of his career, as you were saying, that he's getting more comfortable at left tackle too, which is really good for Georgia because they may need it. You don't know. You hope that Broderick Jones will be fine for the rest of the year. But when you start looking down at the tackle situation, at left tackle, number one, left tackle is Broderick Jones. Number two is going to be Warren McClendon. And number three is going to be Austin Blaske because Mims is going to be solid at the right side.
Yep. He's helping McClendon with the Benjamins too. He's making money, being good, both sides in game, being able to do that.
That's my personnel note of the day. Now we're early in the second quarter here on a second down, about 5 to go.
This is efficiency at its finest. Just a simple inside zone, and you take the cushion, and you get the first down. Like, take it all day, every day. And this was Dylan Bell's best game, by the way. Like, he got 5 targets. I think it was the second most targets he's had, but still a lot of opportunities, 5 catches, 54 yards, the touchdown late with Beck. And he looks like a guy who can develop into a go-to type receiver.
With these RPOs, what do you teach your blockers to do in terms of preserving the passing lane? Because when I see this, I do see Broderick Jones here be a bit wider than you would in just a traditional, zone read deal where he needs to try to make sure this guy gets upfield faster to get out of the passing lane. Am I making too much of that, or do you coach that?
No, I think it's a little bit something where he's still just taking them. A lot of times in that type of issue, you're just taking them where they want to go. Like everybody's stepping left, all stepping left, and he's just, okay, this guy's going to come up the field. I'm just going to take him up the field.
And it works out. Again, what you pointed out earlier, all this space at the line of scrimmage here. Stetson will take that.
Stetson in the game on RPOs, 6 for 6 for 53 yards, 4 first downs. Take it all day, every day.
More of them.
Well, I mean, it's just not necessarily more, but that's what like if they give it to you, take it. If they don't give it to you and they press up on you, all right, run the football.
One more here.
This is just Stetson Ballin.
All right, so I know some people are going to say, "Oh, that's a duck of a throw." It goes exactly where it needs to.
I mean, it's yes, and if he leads it, it's an interception. If he really chunks it, it's an interception. But there's a lot of, and by the way, I harp on this all the time, but play action. He was 10 of 13 for 148 yards, 11.4 yards per attempt on play action. That's where he's getting the big plays from. Like that's where you get the big plays from, is making teams respect the running game that you now have shown that is very prominent over the past few weeks.
And man, we can talk about Stetson and his footwork and arm strength and everything. Dom Blaylock is such a smart player. To have missed as much time. We talk about this he's so seasoned.
It's a weekly thing, right? Weekly FDL talk about Dom Blaylock. We won't mention the potential, possible, likely hold from Mr. Ratledge there, but
well, you just did. Still, you just mentioned it.
I didn't mention anything. I didn't say anything about that. Okay. It wasn't. Nothing was called, Dayne. There was no holding called there, so there was no holding on the play.
We were happy to see Dom Blaylock get his touchdown in the game as well. We saw Eric Gilbert get one. We saw my guy Cass Jones get one. You're not going to see some of these players as much in the next month of the season. Georgia gets a bye week now. They try to rest up. Florida is not the greatest team, but that game sometimes is just kind of weirdly close. Rivalry, first year. I don't think it's going to be talent-wise, but who knows? That November gauntlet stretch is there. And, you get Tennessee riding on its high. That's probably a top 5 matchup. And you get which Kentucky's going to show up and which Mississippi State's going to show up. Who knows?
Well, speaking of which Kentucky's going to show up, Tennessee still has to play Kentucky before they play Georgia. So that's going to be a physical game for them. And one last thing about the play to Dom. Arian Smith was the outside guy running the deep route there. And the corner instantly went with him. And his ability to just be there and be that type of player for the offense, vital. And I think he's going to more and more. Which, by the way, I did realize that if Georgia plays 15 games, he can still play double-digit games and meet my prediction in the preseason.
It's all about our preseason predictions. Hey, everyone, thanks for watching Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing how Georgia's passing game was so efficient and what made that happen. To kind of recap what that is, it's some RPOs, it's some freak athletes, and it's a really good quarterback.
And one last thing, Mr. Chase White here is watching on YouTube, says, let's hear about Carson. So I'm assuming you're talking about Carson Beck. He has the best game of his career, period. He looked the part beyond a shadow of a doubt in this game, more so than he has in any game that he's played. And his best play wasn't even a throw. His best play wasn't even a throw. It was when he stepped up and scrambled for 13 yards because of the pocket movement, the eyes downfield, the little things. That's what you want to see. And that's the growth that you're starting to see from him.
Please don't take our absence of coverage of that as anything of we'll that's an off-season thing that we'll definitely be able to discuss as Georgia kind of goes into its next iteration here. Carson Beck is playing as good as he ever has, and I think Georgia coaches have more confidence in him than they ever have, and he's proving that. When he's gotten his opportunities, he has looked really, really, really good. I don't foresee him being a major impact player here over the next month and a half for Georgia, only because they have Stetson Bennett in front of him. Now, it's a good thing that he's ready because Stetson Bennett's already playing injured right now with kind of a bum shoulder, but he's showing you that he can do that well too. So that's kind of a
rational the offense. They've let him spin it around, throw it around. I mean, that was career high in terms of completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns, all of it. Them letting him do that in the game and having him do that, vital for if at some point he does have to play this year, which you don't necessarily want.
But trust me, January 15th, if not before, I promise you that someone's going to be like, hey, what about Georgia's quarterbacks next year? All right, cool. Let's go. Let's do Film Don't Lie.
And we will look at every attempt they've had.
And Vandergriff, yeah. And we'll break down all these. So they are coming.
Vandergriff's just handed the ball off right now.
Right now. There's still a game with Georgia Tech later. You never know. You never know. Thanks for watching Film Don't Lie, everyone. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. We'll see you next time.